You're inside the press box. Christian FM Sports presents Inside the Press Box, where we discuss all sports from our favorite high school team to college and pro. Here's your hosts, Paul Tipton and Gary Paris.
Well, Vero Nation, your Fighting Indians are 3-3 now, thanks to a win last Friday night over Fort Pierce Central, 35-0, the final score. And 3-3 overall record, 2-0 now in the district. And by all accounts, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in just a minute, could be looking at a district title right now for Vero Beach. And we'll talk about the particulars on that in just a moment. I'm Paul Tipton along with Gary Paris. Thanks for joining us inside the press box. As Gary, Vero Beach, did exactly what they were not only needed to do, but were supposed to do when you're a favorite in a ball game.
It's really funny, Paul. You and I both attend church, and we have a lot of fans in our church and your church that are big supporters of the Fighting Indians. And I can remember a few weeks back, we were 0-3. What's happening with Vero Beach? Why? What's happening? I said, be patient. We're playing one of the toughest schedules in the state of Florida, but our time will come.
Yeah.
Just be patient. It'll happen. It'll change. We got a freshman quarterback. We don't have hardly any seniors on offense. We're young. We're inexperienced. They got to get that experience. And it's hard to beat the teams that we play because a lot of teams aren't beating them.
Right.
They're winning. So here they started out 0-3, and now we're 3-0. And they come back and they say, wow, now it looks like the old Indians. And I said, no, we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Our schedule, we were supposed to win those 3 games.
Yeah.
And we won those 3 games.
Exactly.
And so you like you said, you go out, you've got to win the ones you're supposed to, and you hope to play good and sneak one that you're not supposed to on your schedule. And that one is coming up. But let's talk about this game we had last week against Fort Pierce Central. Fort Pierce Central was, 3-1, 4-1. 4-1.
Yeah.
And they had a victory in the district.
No.
That was their first district game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'm trying to get it right. We're 2-0 in the district. Now they're 0-1.
0-1.
And they played Treasure Coast this week, I think, or the next game. Treasure Coast, one of them has
it's just this week. Or their next game. Yeah, you're right. Their next game is against Treasure Coast.
Yes, and I think they have an open date or something.
They might. Yeah.
And so that game is a big game because if Treasure Coast were to beat them, and Treasure Coast is 0-5 right now.
Right.
If they were to win that game, and then they would be 1-1. We're setting 2-0. And then if we play Treasure Coast and they beat us, then it's head-to-head, and they would be 2-1, and they would have to be the district.
Mm-hmm.
But if Treasure Central beats them, no matter what, then we're district champs.
Yep.
And so that's how big a game that was last week to get that to be 2-0 in our district. 2-0.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And, Gary, we talked about, Indians right now on a 3-game winning streak. Well, 2 of those 3 wins, district wins.
Absolutely. And
they were huge. They were vital.
And if you win your district, you're in the playoff.
Right.
So that doesn't matter what your record is.
Yeah.
You may have a low seed, but you're in the playoff.
Yeah. And you have to understand, too, and I don't want to, some people, I think, they take the time to kind of maybe look through Max Preps and do a little bit of digging and whatnot. But I think probably most people are just, watching the overall records and whatnot. I don't want it to sound like, we're trying to be kind of, egotistical about, the Vero Beach versus Fort Pierce Central. It really, a team coming in 4-1, should they be the favorite? Yeah, possibly. But here's where it really comes down to. We were looking at not just the rankings, but the strength of schedule, Gary. Mm-hmm. And when you looked at those kind of things, it's like, okay, very much like how we started out the season talking about 0-3. We're like, be patient. Our record doesn't really reflect what this team is. Same can be true for a team that's got either undefeated or maybe just one loss. And that's kind of how we felt about Fort Pierce Central.
Well, yeah. Fort Pierce Central strength of schedule was minus 13.3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Vero Beach High School strength of schedule was 25 point something.
Plus 25.
Plus 25.
Mm-hmm.
Plus 25.
Yeah.
So that tells you they're a negative 13, we're a plus 25. You're supposed to win.
It's a pretty big difference.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
And that's what led me to believe we were going to win this ball game. We were used to playing bigger and better teams, and we did. It came out, and we had 35, and Coach could have put more on it, but you know why? He's not that way.
No. I mean, the game was in hand. I mean, pretty well. I mean, it was only 14-0 at halftime, but then you came out in the third quarter and got the next score, made it 21-0. At that point, Gary, I think you and I both kind of felt like, yeah, this game's pretty much locked at this point, but it was good to see not only the offense, but the defense, the way it played, the entire team, all three phases of the game really clicked well in this ball game. And I think in particular, Gary, this was the kind of game that the offense, I felt, really needed. Not that they were doing bad. I mean, they've been putting up decent numbers, but it's one of those like, okay, we can really start to gel. We're getting our chemistry down. The rhythm is there now. We're starting to see the field better. We're starting to really understand what it is we're trying to achieve here. And yeah,
I like that. I like offensively, just in the passing game alone.
And
our quarterback Mons in this game was 10 of 13 for 189 yards. Now, Paul, that's 10 completions out of 13 throws for 189 yards. 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, so 3 of those 10 completes are touchdowns.
Exactly right. That's good point. Good point there. And you say, well, geez, we run the ball up. Well, we did. We were like 88 yards rushing. We had 23 carries, and both running backs, Lansford had a touchdown. And Mons is a running back. He was really he used him at times as a running back. A lot of those plays were by design. He had a touchdown. And so it was fun to watch him run the ball too, and to see our kids get it, see our quarterback. Our quarterback is, he's a talented young man, and Coach now trusts him. As you said one time earlier, by the time you're midseason, you're no longer a rookie.
Not
you're
at
no
all.
longer, even if you're a freshman, you're now playing. You've had enough experience to be a sophomore and move on.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened to Mons. That's what's happened to some of these Woods, these kids that we have that are freshmen and all. But Mons, to me, looked as comfortable as he's looked all year. You could say that he looked like a veteran sitting back there, reading the coverage, running when he had to. So he had a great night. His numbers are not huge.
No, but that, so as you hear Coach Jankowski talk all the time about, it's a complementary sport. Okay. Well, the numbers aren't that big. You know why? 4 times in this ball game, we were on the plus side of the 50-yard line.
Yes.
So there, you talk about your defense doing its job. Obviously pitched a shutout, 35-0, but man, they gave our offense great field position all night long. I mean, I haven't crunched all the numbers, but I would dare say where our average starting position was probably somewhere around midfield.
Oh, at one time it was very close to that at one time. We just excellent field position.
Yeah.
They were punting. They had a shank punt, a short punt.
Right.
And one thing I was impressed with was the junior receiver, Xavier Stinson. Man, did he come alive. He had 4 catches for 118 yards. Just 4 catches.
4.
For 118 yards.
But 67 of them.
Yeah.
I believe it was 67.
7 on one play.
Or was it 37? 37, I think. He had a 37. Well, yeah, he caught 65. That's right. A 65-yarder
pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, now he scored a touchdown also, and it was fun watching him go after the ball. I mean,
I agree.
He was great. He had 2 touchdowns that game. Stinson did. So it's good to see him. And you see the young kid, Marcus Melbourne, 4 catches.
I agree.
Plays both. He's played defense 1 week. He comes back over and plays offense. and he gives you a chance to have a talented player that's in that slot formation. And then I got to throw a hey out there for the tight end, Bobby Burbick. Yes, sir. You know I'm going to love my tight ends now. He had one catch, but it was, a big catch for him for a first down. And so I really got to give a shout out to the tight ends.
The only thing that would make it better is if instead of wearing number 85, he was wearing 84.
That's right. I mean,
but no chance of that. That number got retired.
Well, he's a great kid, and I'm glad to see him.
Yeah.
He was healthy, and he got a chance to get him and Ryan Hendrickson, both were tight ends at time. We could tell we used the plays to the tight end in that play. Plus, you saw Bobby on defense, too.
And again, you got to go back on the defensive side of the ball, too. I thought the guys played a really good game. I mean, Champ Smith, you're talking about a guy playing both ways. He's playing on the offense and defensive line, along with Deuce, and sometimes Vargas getting some reps on both sides of the ball as well. But Champ, man, he was a beast on the defensive side.
He not only played both ways, but he played both ways really good.
Yeah.
Really good out there. And again, here we are mid-season, and the team seems to be coming together. And they're going to need it because they play a very good opponent this Friday night.
Yeah,
also.
They do. I'd be remiss too if I didn't, obviously get Trey Woods. He had an interception in that ball game. He continues to just show, what kind of a talented athlete he really is. And then your boy, Fennessy, how about him?
Oh, he played with me for JV for a couple years, and I kept thinking, man, you got potential. You got potential. And when they put him out there. Now, we have not called his name all year.
Mm-mm.
But how about the plays he made? Man, he was up. He was wrapping up, tackling, getting to the runners outside, the receivers out there, knocking a pass down. I mean, he got a chance to shine, and he did.
Yeah.
And that's how you get playing time. Everybody asks, well, how do you get more playing time? When parents ask you, well, how does my kid get more playing time? Well, when we put him in, if he looks good and he shines, he's going to get more playing time.
It's not real hard.
No.
It's pretty simple, actually.
Yeah, that's it.
If you play well, you got a good chance of staying on the field.
Trevin did a great job, Fennessy, and I was proud of him to watch him play out there.
Yeah, it was great to see. So interesting stat line here, Gary. All right, obviously with this win, 35-0, that is now 12 years in a row that Vero Beach has defeated Fort Pierce Central. They have not won a ball game against Vero Beach since 2013. And since 2020, now they have outscored the Cobras 258 points to 30.
Wow. You would think if it weren't for the fact they're in our district, they probably wouldn't play us.
It may not. And, and this is the thing, though. I really thought, honest to God, I thought this would be a better game than that. I really did. I thought Fort Pierce Central has some talent on there, and I thought they might give us a little more of a run, but I'm not saying I didn't think we would lose the game. I just thought it'd be a closer game than this.
I thought this was going to be one of our, we had that 27-0 win over Centennial.
Correct.
And then we come back and we play this, and I thought that we were going to, I thought it was going to be a game. I thought we had a chance to be very similar to what the Centennial game score was going to be. Mm-hmm. But we could have actually scored more. You know that.
Yeah, and the only reason why I even say that I thought this might be a little bit more of a competitive game, if I can say it that way, is just because of Coach Mike Watkins. I like what he brings to the table, and he's got some talent over there. And I thought for sure that, okay, they might be able to put some points on us, because they got an offense that could move the ball. But I tell you what obviously what we didn't talk about, Gary, is I can't remember if it was in the first half or in the start of the second half, but their starting quarterback, La Matina, got injured and came out.
He came out.
Yeah, and that was a difference.
That was the difference. But at that time, Vero was up.
Yeah,
we were up. I think we were up 28-0, or may have.
I think it was in the third quarter, and we were at least 21-0 at that point.
21-0 at that time. Then we got the 2 touchdowns in the third quarter, Yes, he got hurt. He took it was a bad snap. He picked the ball up and he tried to run and he got hit. And unfortunate for him, he was done.
Yeah, I think the word was because Matt later talked to some of the coaches down there and said that he might have like banged his non-throwing shoulder.
Yes.
And so again, at that point the game looked like it was pretty well in hand. It's like, okay, we didn't win this battle, but we still got a war for the rest of the season. So better to have him for the rest of the war than just this one battle.
Yeah, he was like 9 of 16 when he went out and 75 yards in passing.
Yeah.
And the others that came in there were 2 of them that got a chance to play were 0 completions out of 3 throws. So you can see the difference between having your star quarterback out and not in there. But I think the game was under control.
I agree. I think, again, I thought Coach Mata, Bethel, Ray Hall, and those guys, I thought had a really good game plan together, and the guys went out there and executed the game plan, I would say, to perfection, especially when you pitch a shutout the way they did. I mean, that is the sign of perfection right there. So, all right. So that is now week 6 in the books. Now we turn our attention to week 7, and oh boy, this is the one of those games that Gary and I have been talking about and looking at on the schedule for quite some time. Booker T. Washington. This is one of those programs a lot of people kind of know. You say the name, and they go, "Oh yeah, I've heard about them, or I've seen them on TV, whatever." Yeah, they're a good program, and you know what? They're still good again this season too. So it's going to be a real challenge.
It is. They're coached by Tim Harris. Now Tim Harris has a long coaching career there. They're from 2004 through 2007. He coached down there, won a state championship in 2007, and then he left, and then he came back in 2011.
Yeah.
And he had 11, he was 13-1, and 12, he won a state championship. In 13, he won a state championship at 14-0. And in 2014, he won a state championship at 15-0. And then he sat out a year. I don't know where he went. He went somewhere. Uh-huh. Then he came back in 2016, and he's been coaching there since 2016 as the head coach. So He's been a long time there. Man's got 4 state championships under his belt. So, and they're having a 3-2 year this year. They played their first loss was to Miami Central, who is 4-1, ranked number 6th in the state and 29th nationally. They lost 55-25. And then next loss came to Lakeland. Lakeland's 5-0, ranked number 3 in the state and 17th in the nation. So that tells you what kind of team they are, and they're a good team. Their wins were over South Dade, Immaculata, and Miami Springs. Those were their 3 wins, and all those schools together were 2-3. South Dade 3-1 by Immaculata, and then Miami Springs is 3-2 also. So they're a good football team. Let me tell you something. We've got to play our best game of the year to beat them. We'll have to play our best game. But as you said, again, I love your quote. These guys are no longer rookies.
No,
they're veterans. They've had a preseason game and 5 regular season games or 6 regular season games under their belt. So that's 7 total scrimmages or games they've had. So they should know the offense pretty good, and they should know the defense pretty good.
I agree, Gary. And again, these are the kind of games that you like to see because if you're gonna not only just get in the playoffs, if you're gonna make a run in the playoffs, well, guess what? You're gonna have to play the best teams in the state. And so in order to be the best, you got to beat the best. And you got to, well, at the very least, you got to try to compete with the best. And so that's what Vero Beach and Coach Jankowski are trying to do. They're trying to get these teams on the schedules, not just so you can have, oh, look at my gaudy strength of schedule. No, this is so that you can be ready for when the time comes. Because look, all Vero Beach has to do at this point, they got to win one more district game, and they will be in the playoffs.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter about the rest of the record.
No, you're right. You're 100% right. But as a former player, you are going to want to win everything you went out to do. Of course. You're not
a competitor. You want to compete.
You're exactly right. And let me tell you something. Sometimes when I was at the Browns, I loved playing the Steelers. They beat us most of the time, but they made us a better team.
Sure.
And they and I enjoyed playing against them. I really did. It was, if you want to keep your career and you want to have a long time in the NFL, you got to play hard in those games, and coaches will go out and they'll evaluate you. You don't, and just like in college, you when we played, I loved playing the Gators because they were like the team of the state and all like that. And Florida State, we loved playing against the Gators because they made you better. They played Miami. They made you better.
Right.
And so that's the way our kids need to take this approach to it, is that, hey, we're playing Booker T. Washington, 4-time state champions in the state of Florida. So let's go. We're going to go out and play a good team. Get excited.
100% agree, man. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great game. I don't know if you want to talk about anything else other than high school football right now. I mean, it was, for some, it was not such a good weekend, but for some, it wasn't too bad.
Oh, well, okay. Let's start off with Friday night. We all, after our game, we meet at a certain restaurant in town, and we all have a late dinner, and we watch football, and we talk about our game. And we were watching the Hurricanes, and they were playing Virginia Tech. And what a game. Big surprise. When we walked in, Virginia Tech was up.
I know.
And by 12 points or something. And Miami, got back into the game. And then Miami went ahead toward the end of the game. Miami scored, and they needed a field goal. Couldn't help you.
They scored a touchdown. They threw a Hail Mary.
They throw a Hail Mary up there. And we're all standing around going, well, did he? Because the official didn't initiate throwing his hands up till he walked over and he looked.
Right.
And then he threw his hands up. But then, because Miami came out with the ball.
I know.
Miami, but he indication, the referee said, well, what did you say? I said touchdown. It's okay. It was called a touchdown. Even though Miami came away with it, that means there was a lot of that happens all the time in a pile like that. So instant replay looked over and over and over at it again. And I think they made the right call. Miami, it was an incomplete pass. I think the kid made a great effort, goes up, and when he comes down, Miami's banging that ball all around. And when he hit the ground, the ball was moving.
Yeah.
And so I think they made the right call, and Miami is still undefeated, and they live to play another game as an undefeated team, and that happens in football. This game is a very funny game.
Yeah,
Miami was 19-point favorite to beat Virginia Tech, and guess what? It
didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
We got the win, but it wasn't the spread.
And it was just like us. We were favored by 14 to beat Colorado.
Yeah.
With our great running attack and everything. We got more yards than they did, but they got more points. You can't give Colorado 5 turnovers and 1 turnover on downs, a first and goal.
Yeah.
And you don't score.
Yeah.
They stop you.
Yeah.
So that's like having 6 turnovers in a game, and you can't win games. The Big 12 is a very competitive conference. It's just like the SEC is very competitive. So is the Big 12 amongst each other. Every game is a tough game when you play in these conference plays. Who would have thought Missouri would be like they are? Who would have thought that Vanderbilt would be with the way they're? How about Kentucky beating had Georgia on the ropes the week before?
Right.
and goes down to Mississippi and wins Mississippi.
Wow, that was big.
That was huge.
That was big.
And they were like ranked in the 7th in the country. Ole Miss. And so Kentucky's for real. You never know in these games how competitive they are.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the Georgia-Alabama game, the way it
What
finished.
a game.
What a game. What a game. So, having said all that, you had a good weekend. Your Hurricanes won on Friday night.
Yep.
Your 49ers won yesterday.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that. And,
honestly, God, I'm not trying to dig here, but FSU. What happened?
Wow. FSU is not FSU. They're 0-5, and I'm going to tell you something right now. They're not a very good football team. They have a line, both offensively and defensive lines are just not the same as they were used to. They've seen in the past. Their quarterback is so inconsistent.
I know. And you and I, we talk. I think we kind of think the same way oftentimes, which is scary to think about. But when it comes to coaching, you and I kind of agree in this area. It's like, it's real easy to want to pull a trigger real quick when you have something like this, but you always have to answer the next question, which is who's next. And do you think right now that the alumni or the boosters or the school, are they thinking Norvell's got to go? No.
There'll be people always say that, whether a coach starts out 0-3 or if a coach starts out 0-5 or whatever. I think what they're doing is that he has another year to try to put it back together. His buyout is.
I would hope so.
His buyout's really big, and I don't think the Florida State wants to. They're still paying Taggart, I think, for when they bought him out.
Wow.
And so you don't want to keep adding to that pile that you got to come up with.
Well, that's true.
Because you got to go out, and the NIL money is important. Made a bad decision on the quarterback. It was a. You're looking at out there, and you've got to. And I was totally shocked when we got him.
Well, I think obviously, I think at one point wasn't Cam Ward, wasn't he running for being
Cam
there?
Cam Ward, yeah, he was there. I think it became Price with Cam Ward, and
probably
Miami could afford to get him, and FSU with all the other could not afford to get him, and. Cam Ward even looked at, and I heard that he even looked at UCF. Would like to come, but again, his price tag was high, and he made the right decision. He went to a team that's on the rise, and he makes it on the rise. His leadership is unbelievable. His play is unbelievable. I mean, he got him back in that ball game, and that's what a veteran quarterback can do for you. So. But we got Florida this week, and I'm looking.
UCF does.
UCF does. Yeah, we play University of Florida. And listen, I don't care what you think about Florida. I don't care what you think about, they're on a bad year. No, they got talent. Mm-hmm. They got talent. They just haven't found the right combinations yet. Yeah. And they got a lot of talent. They got lots of money to spend on the NIL, and they can go high school kids, and they just have been tough. They're going to be a real competitive game for us. And if we play like we did this past week,
oh boy,
we're in trouble.
Yeah.
But I think that was an exception. I think we got involved with the hype, all the Fox brought their big game day to UCF. We had thousands of kids out there and people out there. Mm-hmm. So I think we got caught up in the hype of the game.
Could be.
And then you learn from that, and you gotta bounce back. So I'm looking forward to having to go to Gainesville.
All right. Well, that will be on Saturday, but before we get to Saturday, there's Friday, and that means Fighting Indians football. It's at the Citrus Bowl this Friday night. If you don't have your tickets, get your tickets. You're not going to want to miss this game. It's going to be a good one. We've got Booker T. Washington coming into the stadium on Friday night. Kickoff's at 7 o'clock. Our coverage will begin at 6 p.m. with Countdown to Kickoff presented by Caps Pizza. Look forward to having you there. Of course, if you can't make it, you can always listen to it on the radio or watch it on our YouTube channel at VeroNation.com. Network. Speaking of that, make sure if you got a chance, join our membership. Then you can watch any of the replays of the ball games, whatever. And we're going to give away some tickets for the Treasure Coast game later this month. So join on that membership, and you can enter into the random drawing for that as well. Gary Parrish, I'm Paul Tipton. Thanks for joining us in the Press Box. We'll see you next time. As always, go Indians.
Thanks for joining us inside the Press Box. For more, go to ChristianFM.com.